Hello from Portland. Someone asked me in a message to talk about how I became a parent, which is something I've been meaning to talk about, so I figured I would start the process now. It's probably too much to fit into one video, so I may revisit the subject in the future. Like most things in my life, because I am a nerd, it involves a book. And usually when someone says a book changed their life, they're speaking metaphorically, or they're exaggerating a bit, they're saying it made them think differently or whatever. But there's a book that very literally, specifically changed my life. I would not have become a parent when I did, if ever, if I had not run across this book. It's called The Kid, by a writer named Dan Savage, who's more famous now for the It Gets Better videos, which are wonderful. He's a great writer and a great person. But this book is not as well known, but it completely changed my life. This has changed a lot recently, but it really used to be the case that part of coming to terms with being gay was coming to terms with the fact that you probably wouldn't be a parent, that you probably wouldn't have a family in the way that everyone else sort of assumed they would. So growing up, I sort of felt like, well, of course I'm going to have a family and be a dad. As an adult, as I became more aware of my sexual orientation, I began a process of sort of unlearning that desire and detaching myself from that assumption. So much the case that I met Chris, got very serious with Chris, moved in with Chris, and we never had a conversation about whether we wanted kids. I was certainly aware of gay people who had kids. But the typical story was there'd be a gay couple and they'd have 6 or 7 foster kids, some of whom were special needs, and they were heroic and they were impressive, but they weren't me. I'm not heroic. I was never going to be that person. It's like when you read about someone who runs into a burning building and saves someone. It's very inspirational, it's heroic, and you hope you would do that in the situation, but you don't walk around with the day-to-day belief that that's going to happen. And then I read this book. Dan Savage wrote this book, and what was amazing about the book is, it's, first of all, you should read it because it's really funny and it's really good and it's a great story, and it's well worth reading even if you're straight or don't have kids or don't care about parenting. But the amazing thing about the book is that its entire approach was very non-heroic. In fact, he very directly addresses that at the outset of the book and says, I wasn't looking to be some kind of saint. I wasn't looking to be some virtuous role model. I wanted to be a parent. I wanted to have a kid for the same reason that millions of people want to have kids. They want to share love, they want to build a family, all that stuff. And he talked about the whole adoption process in great detail and how they approached it and what the ins and outs were. And it really blew my mind to have someone talk so matter-of-factly about the process of becoming a parent. This seems so melodramatic in retrospect, but I gave the book to Chris. I said, I want you to read this, and I want to talk about it when you're ready. And I don't want to put a lot of pressure on you, but this is something that we need to talk about together, because this is something I'm thinking about now. So he read the book. I remember very distinctly, Chris is fairly reserved and doesn't talk as much as I do. But we used to go for walks in the evening, and we'd talk about our day and whatever. And he had finished the book, and I was kind of waiting for him to bring it up because I didn't want to be pushy. And we were on the walk, and he said, I'm not ready to talk about it yet, but I will be soon, and I think you'll like what I have to say. And looking back, I had not made any definitive decision I wanted to be a parent necessarily. I wanted to talk about it. I was excited by the idea, but it's a big deal. But that moment when he said, I think you're going to like what I have to say, I realized this was something I really wanted to do. This was a deep desire that I had sort of shut off for a long time. This was in about 2002 or 2003, and it was very difficult at the time to get any good information about adopting, especially in Texas. There'd be agencies that they wouldn't come out and say whether you had to be gay or straight or married or single, and everybody was very careful about their language, and it was very frustrating. And I just, by a very happy combination of search terms, I found a social worker who lived in Dallas, who was an out lesbian. She and her partner had worked for children's services for their whole lives and then retired and become social workers, and were basically trying to help gay couples that wanted to adopt. That was their mission, and they guided us through the whole process. They connected us with an agency in Guatemala, and we started the process. Just after we got all of our paperwork together, the Guatemalan government shut down adoptions temporarily, which completely freaked me out, sent me into a depression for quite a while. And then that action got reversed by a court in Guatemala, so a few months later adoptions were back on track, but the agency told us, now there's a big backlog now, there's all these people that have waited, you're at the back of the line, it's going to be probably another year before there's anything for you, so just be patient. And then about a month after that, just the Saturday before Christmas, I got a call from the agency and they said there's a baby boy and he needs a home. And they sent us pictures, and it was all very unexpected and very overwhelming. And I just don't have words for looking at those pictures. The idea that this was actually going to happen was wonderful and terrifying. There's nothing quite like the fear that overtakes you when you realize you're bringing a baby into your life. It's a joyous kind of fear. It's a beautiful kind of fear, but it's deeper than you can even imagine. But you work through it. You do what you need to do, whether you're having a biological child or adopting a child. We didn't know it, but there were still some hurdles to jump over, and that's probably something I'll talk about in a future video. So I guess I want to say thank you to Dan Savage and to everyone else who's ever pushed at the boundaries of what's possible. You absolutely changed my life. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.